Hey, what's up? I'm Seth, and I just watched Marvel's newest movie in a long time, Black Widow. Anytime I watch a new movie, I'm always wondering, is this a movie I would share with my kids? Because I love doing that. That's tons of fun for me. I'm a movie guy, and I like to share movies with my kids. And so coming into this movie, into Black Widow, I was wondering, would this be a movie that I'd share with my kids? I mean, I wanted it to be so bad because I really love the strong female character of Black Widow. See, she's just a get it done kind of person. She figures it out. She's tough. She's resourceful. She's witty. And I wanted to have a good solo movie to share with my kids. And I'll tell you right now that this is probably not a movie I would share with my kids. I mean, you might make a different decision, and there were some things I liked, and there were some things I didn't like, and I want to tell you those things. And there was also some good questions I came up with to ask after this movie, but more on that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to try really hard not to give spoilers in this review, but when I'm talking about the things I like and things I don't like, a couple things do slip out, so I'll just give you a light spoilers warning. All right, to give you some context, so Black Widow is on the run. Takes place right after Captain America Civil War, and she's just trying to stay under the radar. She just doesn't want to get caught by Ross and his people, by the government. She's just trying to stay away, and she gets brought back into the world of espionage, of spies, of the whole Black Widow organization, because it is an organization, by somebody that she knew from her past. That's as far as I'll go with the synopsis. I think it gives a little more away in the trailer, but you kind of get the gist of it with that. First, I want to talk about what I would like for my kids to see from this movie. Yes, the strong female character of Black Widow. It's just great to have her be an awesome Marvel superhero. And she's not even super powered. And I've loved seeing her in the Marvel Cinematic Universe up to this point. In fact, all the female characters in this movie are strong, are resourceful, are no-nonsense, get-it-done type people, and it was a lot of fun to watch. And then I guess on the flip side, and this is probably me coming from a man and a dad's side, but I did like that there was no sexualization of women in this movie at all. I mean, that's a little bit refreshing. It's sad to have to say that, but there wasn't any, and I really enjoyed that because I don't feel like that needs to be in every movie, so I'm glad that they didn't include that. I really like the new characters. They were a lot of fun. I love David Harbour. He was great in Stranger Things. I love him in this movie. The other characters as well that make up Natasha's quote-unquote family, again, kind of light spoiler. The woman that plays her sister is amazing. She's incredible. She's as fun as Natasha in this movie. She does a really good job. I also just liked the loyalty and the kind of the relationship that was there within the family that was shown. You see that Black Widow is a changed person from what she was even at the beginning of the Avengers. She has opened up her heart a little more. She tries to be more caring and compassionate. She's trying to do good. And I love the loyalty that she shows to the people that she used to know in her past before she became an Avenger, and the loyalty that they show to her. And it's just refreshing, especially in this world of espionage. You don't know who to trust. Okay, so what didn't I like for my kids? Well, you know, this might be a just me thing, but there were some things that made me pretty uncomfortable. In the beginning, sorry, this is a light spoiler, but there are some images and scenes of child trafficking. I mean, that's how Natalie, the Black Widow, does get recruited, as her sister as well. All of the people in the Black Widow organization, they're pretty much stolen children, and I hated that. That imagery was just really upsetting to me. I didn't like that at all. Also, I think this is the most violent of the MCU movies. The violence is more raw and real. There's more, blood spurts. Some of the violence they dwell on a little bit. So just again, a little tiny bit of light spoiler, but you see some like broken bones, like a twisted leg and things like that. And that's a little more upsetting. It kind of stays on that a little longer. Another thing I didn't like is it's not just the most violent, it's the most adult MCU movie. It's a darker tone, it's heavier content matter, and I get it. In fact, all these things that I've said I didn't like, the child trafficking, the violence, the darker tone, I think that's on purpose. I think that the movie is trying to do that for you, right? This movie is not trying to be a family movie. And that's kind of what I'm trying to say, and I think that's what you should know as a parent. This movie is trying to be an adult spy movie, in the MCU universe. That's what it's trying to do. And it doesn't really have any appeal, I think, for kids, tweens. I don't think it's going for that crowd at all. Also, there was more language that I noticed in this movie than the other MCU movies. It's kind of funny sometimes, but there's just more of it, so be aware of that as well. So in the end, would I share this with my kids? No, I wouldn't. Again, this is not a movie made for kids. And so I'm just not at a point where I'd share that with my kids. My kids are 12, 10, 7, and 5, and I know this movie would not appeal to any of them. And so it's something that I would wait for, honestly, until they're able to make the decision themselves in their teens, later teens, when they get more into maybe espionage movies, Mission Impossible, Jason Bourne, that kind of stuff, when they're older and maybe off on their own. I just don't feel a need to show my kids this movie. In fact, that's another thing that I have as far as review. I don't know if this movie needed to be told. I felt like I knew what I needed to about Natasha, about Black Widow, from like Captain America Winter Soldier. I love that movie. She did a great job, and I loved her character in that movie. And the other Avengers movie, she holds her own. She does a great job. And maybe this is a little bit of my own missed expectations. I mean, I did have an expectation that this would be a fun spy movie, like the newer Mission Impossibles, or something maybe even more like Winter Soldier. And it just wasn't that to me. It just wasn't as fun. It wasn't as compelling. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't a horrible movie, but it just, I don't know if I see that it's relevant. I also think I had expectations for relevance. I mean, because when they go back in time to tell a story that you didn't know you needed to know, like Rogue One from Star Wars, that's a great story, and I loved learning that, even though I didn't even know that I cared about it at all. I thought Black Widow might be a little bit like that, where they're telling something that you didn't know you needed to know that'd be really cool, and it just didn't feel like that either. And maybe they'll make it more relevant with other shows and movies after the fact, but at this point, it wasn't really relevant for me. Now, again, I'm a movie guy. I'm not a comics guy. So maybe if you're really into the comics, you can see how awesome this is, and maybe there's a lot of satisfying moments. For me, as a movie guy, it just was okay. Kind of a letdown. Okay, so that's my review. With that said, though, there are some questions I'd want to ask my kids if and when we watch this movie. I would ask them, how did this movie change your perception of Black Widow, of Natalie, of Natasha? She has a lot of names. But how does this change your perception of her? Because I think that's the idea, right? You wouldn't tell a solo story if it didn't help elevate that character in some way. So I'd ask my kids, what do you think of this character now? So I'd also ask, in this world to the Black Widow, what makes a family? She talks about multiple families. The Avengers is a family. She has this other family back from Russia. She has her actual biological family. I mean, what makes a family? I would ask my kids that. What is the perception of family to Black Widow and to you now? And finally, I'd ask my kids a question that I have myself. Is this a relevant story to tell within the MCU? Did you think this was a story worth telling? I mean, I think to other stories that I don't love, like Thor: The Dark World, I thought that was just okay, but it still had some pieces that helped push the story along with the MCU. Does this movie do that as well? Was it worth watching? Was it not? So I guess, the final thing I would tell you, is this worth the $30 on Disney Plus? Because I did spend that money, and I would almost say no. You might be let down. If you have expectations like me that this is going to be a great Black Widow story, the one you've been waiting for, then you're going to be let down. And I would say maybe just wait for it to be free. And I think in October it comes to be free on Disney Plus. So if you already have a subscription, I would maybe say just wait. That's hard to say. That's almost like not recommending a good friend to somebody. Because I love the MCU and I love their movies, but this one just was not satisfying for me. So that's where I'm at. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Did you really like this movie? Maybe there was something else in it that you noticed that maybe I didn't. I would love to hear about that. If you like these types of reviews, then hit the subscribe button below or like this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you later.